from all the 19 states. I was in charge. I was 34, 35 in those days, but I was in charge of the economy of the northern region. And I was there for nearly 4 years. I was there when states were created. It was first known as Northern Nigeria Marketing Board.
In this week's edition of Footprint, I'll be chatting with an economist, a renowned administrator during the colonial and post-colonial era, an author and a playwright, and also a traditional ruler with the title of Maradin Katsina District Head of Kurfi, Alhaji Ahmadu Kurfi. So you're welcome. Your Honor, for the purpose of this program, I would like you to reintroduce yourself.
You are welcome to my palace. My name is Ahmadu Kurfi, Maradin Katsina, Hakimin Kurfi, District Head of Kurfi. I was born here in Kurfi, in this very house. My late father Maradin Alu and my mother Amina, both of them deceased. I am over 80 years old, and I have been Maradin Katsina for nearly 22 years now. My domain of the Numar Kurfi is the same as Kurfi local government.
Sir, please can you take us to your early childhood?
Well, at the time I was a child here, there was no primary school. So my father took me to Katsina, where I did my primary, at that time known as elementary school. It was called CSS. No, it was called CES, Central Elementary School. It is occupying the premises of the former Katsina Training College, now Bariwa College in Zaria. I was there for 3 years, from 1941 to 1944. From there I went to Katsina Middle School, now college. I was there for 3 years, from 1944 to 47. And from there I went to Kaduna College. From 47, I was there until 1950. But we moved to Zaria in 1949. The college is now known as Bariwa College because it kept on moving from Katsina, Kaduna, and then Kaduna, Zaria. So it's now known as Bariwa College. After finishing, I joined the teaching. I was employed as a pupil teacher by the Katsina Native Authority, and I went to teacher training course. It was a federal institution located in Katsina. It was called HETC, Higher Elementary Training Center. I was there for 3 years. I qualified as a grade 2 teacher in 1952, and then I taught my alma mater, that's Katsina Mission, for just less than 1 year. When I secured a scholarship to study in England. And in those days, there was no university in Nigeria. I had to go overseas. And we had no qualification to the university directly. So we had to do what was then called advanced level. I spent 2 years in London, and after qualifying, I entered University of Hull, where I studied economics. I got a BSc economics degree in 1958, and then I returned home.
That same year?
Huh?
That same year?
Yes, the same year I returned home. I was appointed by the government of Northern Nigeria as an administrative officer. That's I left teaching, because in those days the government was anxious to administrators, what I then called GO, in charge of provinces and region. And the Europeans, independence was approaching, they are going back to their country. So the government of northern region under the late Sultan of Sokoto, and then posted to Niger province, present Niger state. And there the resident, we used to have a resident in charge of the province. He is the equivalent to the governor now.
To the governor now, okay.
So in Niger province there were divisions under a DO, district officer. Mina, Bida, Kuntaba.
Okay, there were just three.
Three divisions.
Okay.
Each under a DO. Then under the division there are districts also. And they are in charge of AGO, Assistant District Officer. I was one of them.
Okay.
I was posted to Abuja.
Abuja.
The president.
Okay.
But most of the territory, 3/4 of Abuja territory was under Abuja Emirate. So I was in charge. But the first Nigerian black man to be in charge of that district.
As an assistant district officer.
ADO. It was a very powerful post, because as the ADO, you are representing the government of northern Nigeria. There were other government officers there, agriculture, medical and so on. But you are the coordinator. You are the most senior. So when I was there, I was a young man, and except teaching for about a few months. But because in those days degrees were very good, you acquired experience. Although I was very young, under such, I acquired experience. I was able to handle all these things.
So it was that degree that you obtained from London that qualifies you to...
You can't be an ADO unless you are a graduate, because you are representing the government of Northern Nigeria. Very important person.
So which year was that when you were made the ADO?
No, that there by 1958.
1958.
Yes, posted to Abuja in 1958. And then from there, when elections came, 59, I was posted back to Mina, that's the headquarters, to prepare for the election in 1959.
So, sir, which means during your time, you came back to Nigeria from England in 1958.
Yes.
And you were made an ADO in that same year.
Yes.
You did not to wait for a job.
No. Oh, yeah, the job was waiting for me. Right from there. I was there anxious to have me. Oh, the job were with us. We just choose. I was given different jobs. I elected this one.
Okay.
Right when I was there, that was the time the Kaduna textile was established by Sadona and Kaduna. And the partners, the technical partners were in England. I was asked to go and see them. And Sadona, they wanted me to be a training manager. So that when the Europeans finally went home and take manager, I said, no, I'm not a trader. And I come from a traditional house. I don't want to be a trader. Then there was also marketing boards in those days. There was a company which sold Nigerian clothes. The marketing boards in the northern region, marketing board, eastern region, western region. They bought groundnuts, cotton in the north, cocoa in the western region. Then they sent these, the marketing boards sent these to the Nigerian produce marketing company for the whole country. They negotiate with overseas buyers. Most of these things were exported. So there also, at that time, the managing director was in London. Nigeria produced marketing company. He was a deputy in Lagos. I was asked to see him. Again,
So that
I said, no,
you are not interested in that also.
So even when I arrived in Lagos, they are represented in the nothing at the port. Wanted me to be with them. But I said no. Sadona very much wanted me to do that one.
But sir, personally, you rejected the textile,
yes,
and you also rejected the
produce.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes, so I went and looked.
okay.
It's very prestigious in those days, because as an ADO we deal with emirs, powerful emirs, but then you are senior. While you are there, I had an emir of Abuja, very powerful man, educated, one of the few educated emirs who went to Katsina Palace. See, I was working with him, but he knew I could write a report about him to Kaduna, if he misbehaved.
Yes.
And that was disposition. That is, we can be deposed as an emir. So it's a very powerful position, but we did not abuse it. See, we were very respectful. You see? So I was there. When the election came, I was engaged in registering voters for the first time, because elections, they are not direct. People just raise their hands.
Okay, they just count.
You see? But these days it's nationwide. I should be registered, so I was engaged. And then when the election itself came in December, I was posted to Katagora.
Which year?
1959.
1959.
Yes,
Okay.
so I was just before independence. I was posted to Katagora and made an electoral officer of the federal constituency, Katagora Central. They had two federal constituencies, so I was in charge. The one Katagora Central. Elections were conducted. After the elections, then Sadona decided that since in the federal service there are very few Northerners, and especially administrative officers, because there are very few Northerners with degrees. I think in Katsina I was the first one to get a degree. So
you are the first from Katsina?
Yeah, to get a degree. University. I'm not talking about professional. Engineer, they didn't have a degree, but they have what is equivalent to NDE now, or HND now.
HND.
In England, we have a degree in engineering, in England nobody will appoint you, will employ you, because they're not practical. But equivalent to HND, professional, they are the engineers, so we had engineers. We had also lawyers like Justice Nasser, who came. They too, they didn't go to university. They had lawyers, institutions, they came in support. He and Justice Bello, they came before me. But I came at the university degree. So I was posted to, I and I think four others, graduates, who were posted to Lagos. So
that's at the federal level.
So I was there just before independence. I reported for duty in June 1960, and then in October, when Nigeria got its independence. I was posted to the Ministry of Defense. There I was there until 1966.
Okay, so you work for 6 years in the Ministry of Defense.
The Prime Minister insisted that I should stay there. Normally, administrative officers were moved from one ministry to another to gain experience.
Okay.
But the minister, he said, what I was doing, the work I was doing, I was involved in recruiting military officers, people like Babangida and all the others. Okay. When they joined the army.
You recruited them?
Yes. I was representing the minister. The selection board was composed of military people. But I was the only civilian representing the Ministry of Defense. See? So because it was very important, the people like Sadona side. Although at that time we didn't know anything like military coup, I think one day it is the military that will be in charge. And the people in the south, especially the Igbos, they were bringing their people
into the military.
They are dominating, officers. They are dominating. So Sadona, yes. So the first thing I did was to insist that she be quota.
That's equal these three positions.
There are three regions. The north and in the north is more than half. Then the east and west. So it said, okay, the most you go to Cuba, should go to the north, 25 to the east, 25 to the west.
Okay.
That's how we are able to get young officers. People like Erashi, most of them. You see their picture here. Then became head of state. I worked with them, most of them. So I was there.
So it's a single-handedly brought up the idea of the quota system.
Yes, in the ministry. No, I didn't. I have to.
Yeah, it was a suggestion, a decision.
To refer to. In those days, all the my seniors were Europeans. I have the senior assistant secretary, deputy permanent secretary, secretary to the prime minister was a white man. So when I made this suggestion, it went up to the Governor General. Because they said, this young man, probably, maybe he was from Bauchi. They thought, I didn't know whether I understood, but I respected. So any idea I put, they respected it, but they have to pitch up to the Governor General.
And nobody disputed that?
No, at first they say no. No, I said no, she didn't do it. So we kept quiet, but when independence came, a man later Rivado, he was most powerful. He was almost acting next to the Prime Minister. He was the Minister of Defense. So when he came, I didn't know him, but I saw him privately in his office. I said, look, this is what I suggested. I knew I was right, but I was overruled. My leader senior said no, it should allow qualification. Next to him, he agreed, so they don't support it. Up to consulting, they all say they do not support. So it went to the secretary to the Prime Minister, a white man, a British. He owned to the Governor General. At that time, in fact, defense was not under Prime Minister.
Okay.
It was only after independence. So it went to the Governor General, British. So they say no. So I said, this is what happened. So he said, okay, give me the file. Give him the file. After some days, they went and they had a meeting, the caucus of the Northern People's Congress. They used to have a meeting in Kaduna every 2 or 3 months. So they went and discussed this matter with the Sundowner, with the Maradin and all the senior ministers. Vegas, they met the ministers, Kaduna, they said this is, Rivado said, this is a good idea. This idea is something that would one day save the North. And then we didn't know anything about who. That was October 60.
That's immediately after independence.
Yes. See? So they are very clever, those politicians. So what they did, they said, okay, Sundowner should write to the Prime Minister. Akintola, Yorubas, they are not many also.
In the military?
No, in the military. Only Igbo. So at that time they had there's a sort of alliance or understanding between the Yorubas, Akintola, and the Sundowner. So Sundowner and Akintola should write to the Prime Minister, saying that there are people getting fair share in the recruitment of officers into the army, and they wanted the Prime Minister to do something. Of course, the Prime Minister required it to the Minister of Defense. See, they are very clever. He knew, the Prime Minister also knew.
Yes.
So we had the Minister of Defense, and the Minister of Defense told him that he should implement this immediately.
And implement it.
They just discussed it. They didn't write in the file, but they were discussing. So all I saw on the file I gave the minister is just back. But this policy should be implemented with immediate effect. So that's how we are able to get the young officers. And after the 66 coup, when most of our people, including senior and military officers, were killed by young Igbo officers, it was these young people that staged a counter coup 6 months later, and the government was put on. The then Lieutenant Colonel, young officer, was under 32. So that's how they were trained. See, the Igbo, they thought about killing all our senior modern officers were killed. The politicians were killed. So that's how I saw the people, they had foresight. That was, they thought about this 6 years.
6 years ago.
They were there. After the coup, I worked with most of the government, so I know them.
But sir, without a station, one can say the decision was taken as a result of the advice or suggestion you submitted.
I was assistant in the ministry. In the when in the provinces, ADO. When in the ministry, they call you assistant secretary.
Assistant secretary.
The administration, you are the lowest. So most of the things we start with the lowest people. It goes up. They are able to get it. So after the coup, then they wanted there is a marketing board, known as a marketing board. It's more or less like NNPC now. All the economy of the north is being controlled by the marketing board. Rich people, they were licensed buying agents, the Dantatas and others. In those days, people, very few, we didn't know government work was being done direct labor. So most of the rich families, they are produce buyers, buying cotton or other produce. So it is very important. So after the coup, when Hassan was made governor, there was an inquiry into the marketing board. It was more or less dissolved. So I was invited to come to be in charge of the marketing board, the whole northern region, all the 19 states. I was in charge. I too, I was at 34, 35 in those days, but I was in charge of the economy of the northern region. And I was there for nearly 4 years. I was there when states were created. It was first known as Northern Nigeria Marketing Board. 6 states were created in the north. Then it was converted into Northern Marketing Board.
Your Honor, sir, if I can take you back, while you were in England, you rejected working for the marketing board.
No, but not now, the marketing board.
Okay.
Nigeria produced. You see, how things worked out. You see, at that time, it was not the marketing board direct. This Nigerian Produce Marketing Company was an agent of the marketing board.
Okay.
When marketing board, they bought food and sent it to them to sell to overseas buyer. See? But as things turned out, as you said, I never. So when I came, I was in chief executive of the marketing board. Then I became a director of the Nigerian Produce Marketing Board. A director of Nigerian Produce, myself and somebody from the west, somebody from the east. We were directors, and I was chairman. See? So
the chairman, was he a white man?
No. No. There was a managing director, a northerner.
Okay.
When late, he was the managing director. So we became directors. We'll go for a meeting, discuss road policies, and then we left it to the management to execute. See? So I came back. I was there for 2 years until 1970. And then I went back to Lagos again.
That's at the federal level.
Yeah, federal level. So,
what took you back to Lagos? What took you back to Lagos?
No, I said after. I had misunderstanding with the governors, the 6 governors to the north.
Oh, the north?
Yes, North State Market. I had misunderstandings. So they said they sacked me. So yes, they said you can't sack me because I'm not your employee. Yes. I came alone, secondly.
Yes.
So I went back from where I came from.
Well, what was the nature of the misunderstanding?
No, I don't want this to be there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Anyhow, I had misunderstanding. So
all right, sir.
The military governors, 6 of them, I had misunderstanding. They said, sometime we had to go. And also secretary, 3 of us.
Okay.
We have to go. So I said, well, you did not improve me. I came from Lagos. I went back to Lagos and started work again in 1970.
Well, listener, this is where we have to draw down the curtain on this week's edition of Footprint. Please do tune in for the continuation of this revealing package with the Maradin Katsina District Head of Kurfi, Alhaji Ahmadu Kurfi. But for now, I am Awal Ibrahim saying thank you for having time to listen.